If you'd asked me a year ago where I'd be today, best man at my brother's wedding to my ex-girlfriend would not have made the list. Hell, it wouldn't even make the list of my worst nightmares. And yet, here we are. It all started with a text. "Hey bro, big news. Need you to be my best man." At first, I smiled. Genuine too. Liam was always the golden boy. Charming, loud enough to fill a room, yet clueless enough not to notice half the room was rolling their eyes. Still, he was my brother. Blood and all that. I flopped onto the couch, phone in one hand, half-eaten slice of cold pizza in the other. The living room around me was a battlefield of laundry, coffee mugs, and unopened mail, a physical manifestation of my emotional stability. I thumbed out a quick reply. "Of course, man. Congrats. Who's the lucky girl?" A few seconds passed. Then came the second text. The one that felt like a brick to the chest. "Sophie. Sophie. My Sophie." Well, ex-Sophie, I reminded myself. Ancient history. Dead and buried. Except apparently someone had decided to dig up the grave, slap some confetti on it, and throw a damn wedding. I sat there staring at the screen, feeling the pizza droop sadly in my hand. For a moment the world fuzzed around the edges, like my brain couldn't process the full absurdity of what I'd just read. Of all the women in the world, hell, of all the women in this city, he had to pick her? The logical part of me tried to be, well, logical. People move on, Jake. Relationships end. It's fine. Totally fine. The rest of me wanted to drive over to Liam's place and slap the golden boy grin right off his face. Instead, I dropped the pizza on a nearby paper plate, questionable if it was clean, and leaned back, staring at the water-stained ceiling. I needed a minute. Or 10. Memories of Sophie flooded in, uninvited and unwelcome. Her laugh echoing across my apartment. The way she used to trace patterns on my arm when she thought I was asleep. The texts late at night that sometimes didn't add up. The slow, inevitable crash of us. I shook my head, trying to physically fling the memories out. No. Not today. Today I was Jake the best man, not Jake the bitter ex. Besides, if Liam thought I'd just stand there smiling at the altar like a good little soldier, he was in for a surprise. I picked up my phone again, thumbs flying. Wouldn't miss it for the world, bro. Send. A slow, humorless grin stretched across my face. If he wanted me at that wedding, then damn it, I'd be there. And I had a feeling I'd be bringing more than just a toast. It started like every bad idea does, with a cup of overpriced coffee and a smile from a pretty girl. I met Sophie at this little hipster cafe downtown, the kind of place where the chairs don't match. The menu has items like deconstructed avocado toast, and the baristas act like you're lucky they even glanced at you. I was nursing a bitter black coffee, pretending to read some novel I never finished, when she plopped down across from me. "Mind if I sit?" she asked, that perfect half-smirk already in place. I should have minded. I really, really should have. But instead, I shrugged, and just like that, Sophie stormed into my life like a hurricane wearing cherry red lipstick. The first few months were dangerous in the best way. Late nights, long talks, that electric feeling when you look at someone and think, yeah, this could be it. Except even then, underneath the laughter and the shared dreams, there were cracks. Tiny ones at first. Little things you could almost ignore if you squinted hard enough. The way she'd turn her phone face down when it buzzed. The late-night study sessions with friends I'd never met. The casual dismissive, "You're just being paranoid, Jake." And then there was Liam. At the time, it felt harmless. Sophie laughing too hard at his jokes. Liam lighting up every time she walked into the room. I told myself it was in my head. I wanted it to be in my head. Because the alternative would have destroyed me. It turns out denial is cheaper than therapy. At least up front. The end came fast. No warning shot. No slow fade. One night she showed up at my apartment, that same messy apartment, cluttered with half-finished projects and old pizza boxes, and she ended it. "I'm not happy anymore," she said, avoiding my eyes. No mention of Liam. No explanation that made sense. Just a surgical slice, right across the heart. And me? I stood there like an idiot, nodding like I understood, like I wasn't about to shatter into a million tiny pieces the second the door clicked shut behind her. For 3 months, I went cold. Work, sleep, repeat. No dating. No friends. Just me, my regret, and the endless loop of what the hell happened playing in my head. Then came the kicker. I found out from a mutual friend, because of course it wasn't from them, that Sophie and Liam were a thing now. Not just hanging out. Not just getting to know each other. Dating. Official. Facebook status change and everything. I remember laughing when I heard it. That brittle, ugly kind of laugh that sounds suspiciously like someone cracking apart. Of course it was Liam. Of course it was Sophie. In hindsight, it all makes sense. The stolen glances. The private jokes. The way she always lit up around him. Even when she claimed she was all in with me. I wasn't stupid. Just willing to be lied to. Especially when the lies sounded better than the truth. And now, here I was, a year later, invited to smile pretty, and hand over the damn rings at their wedding. Best man, my ass. If hell had a waiting room, it would probably look a lot like Carmine's. A cheerful little Italian place with red checkered tablecloths, syrupy Sinatra playing over the speakers, and enough fake smiles per square inch to suffocate a man. I knew something was off the moment I walked in, and spotted my parents sitting stiffly at a corner table. Mom was fussing with the silverware like it had personally offended her, and Dad kept checking his watch, even though he was the one who always insisted on being fashionably early. Then, there was Liam, bouncing in his seat, practically vibrating with excitement, while Sophie, my Sophie, perched beside him, resting a manicured hand lightly on his arm like she was staking a claim. The traitor. Jake, over here, Liam called, waving me over like we were 10 years old and about to share a secret handshake. I forced my feet to move, forced my face into something resembling a smile. If it looked more like a grimace, no one commented. As soon as I sat down, a waitress appeared, slapping down menus and asking about drinks. Whiskey. Neat, I said, a little too quickly. Sophie tittered, an actual titter, and leaned into Liam. So, Liam said, grinning so wide I half expected his face to split open, we wanted to tell you all in person. We're getting married! Cue the fake gasps, the overly rehearsed surprise from Mom, the hearty backslap from Dad. It was like a bad play, and I was the only one who realized we were all trapped inside it. I sipped my whiskey and said nothing. What was there to say? Congratulations on the happy betrayal? Hope the knife in my back doesn't clash with your floral arrangements? So exciting, Mom gushed, reaching across the table to squeeze Sophie's hand. You're just glowing, sweetie. I watched the scene unfold like a movie I hadn't agreed to be in. Sophie doing her best imitation of a bashful bride-to-be. Liam soaking up the attention like a golden retriever who just learned a new trick. And me, slowly grinding my teeth down to dust. Dinner was a blur of awkward small talk and undercooked pasta. Liam talked about the wedding venue, some vineyard upstate that was just perfect. Sophie described the dress shopping trip she was planning, throwing coy glances at my mother, who clapped her hands like a delighted seal. And me? I made sarcastic comments in my head the entire time. Sure, get married in a vineyard. Nothing says eternal love like fermented grapes and second-hand vows. Go ahead, Sophie. Tell Mom how you found the perfect dress, just like you found the perfect brother. When the waitress brought dessert menus, Dad cleared his throat and gave me that look. The one that meant play nice. Jake, Mom said sweetly, too sweetly, we're so happy you'll be standing with Liam on his big day. Yeah, bro, Liam added, thumping my back. Couldn't do it without you. I forced a laugh. It came out hollow. Of course. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Mom beamed. Dad nodded approvingly. Sophie gave me a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. I shoved a forkful of soggy tiramisu into my mouth, tasting nothing. With every fake smile and every polite nod, the feeling settled deeper into my bones. This wasn't just a dinner. It was a funeral. For my dignity, my trust, and whatever scraps of family loyalty I had left. And, the worst part? I wasn't just attending, I was expected to give a speech. Oh, don't worry, I thought, clinking my glass against Liam's with a hollow thud. I've got a speech planned. It's going to be unforgettable. The rehearsal was set at Edenbrook Manor, a sprawling estate with manicured gardens, so perfect they looked photoshopped in real life. Roses lined the cobblestone paths. Fairy lights dangled from ancient oaks. The whole place reeked of new money trying really, really hard. I pulled up to the venue, already feeling the beginnings of a headache forming at the base of my skull. The moment I stepped out of my car, Liam bounded over, all sunshine and backslaps. "Bro, you made it." He beamed, like there was any universe where I had a choice. Sophie floated up behind him, in a white sundress that screamed innocent bride, even as her eyes, sharp assessing, locked on mine for just a beat too long. She gave me a sugary smile. I returned one with enough saccharin to rot teeth. Inside the ceremony space, chaos reigned. Wedding planners buzzed around like caffeinated bees. Friends of Liam, a bunch of guys who, peaked in high school, tossed jokes back and forth, laughing too loud, slapping each other on the back like it was a frat party, not a wedding rehearsal. "Okay, let's run through it," barked the wedding coordinator, a petite woman with a clipboard and the patience of a saint. We lined up. I was handed a satin pillow with the rings tied to it. Because, of course I was. As we practiced the processional, I caught my reflection in the giant window near the altar. Black suit, blank face. A groomsman at the wedding of my brother, to the woman who ripped out my heart and handed it to him like a party favor. Picture perfect. The first time through, things went about as well as you'd expect. Halfway down the aisle, one of Liam's friends, Chad or Brad or maybe Tad, they all blurred together, tripped over a flower arrangement and face-planted into a row of folding chairs. The rings went flying off the pillow. For a half second, there was complete silence. Then, pandemonium. Everyone scrambled. Sophie let out a delicate shriek. Liam barked laughter. I, meanwhile, watched a golden band roll under a nearby hedge, like it was trying to make a break for freedom. Honestly, I related. We finally retrieved the runaway ring, covered in grass and mild shame, and reset. During the mock vows, Liam stared lovingly at Sophie, while Sophie pretended to blush. I stood off to the side, clutching the stupid pillow like it was a shield. I could feel the eyes on me. Little flickering glances from the guests, the bridal party. They all sensed it, even if no one said anything, the tension humming under my skin. The fake grin stretched a little too wide, the way my fists clenched around the satin. "You good, man?" It was Noah, my oldest friend, the only one who still called me out on my crap. He sidled up next to me, while the others fussed over seating arrangements. "Peachy," I muttered. Noah raised an eyebrow. "You sure you want to go through with this? You don't have to be the martyr here." For half a second, I wavered. For half a second, I pictured myself ripping off the stupid tie, flipping a few tables, and speeding away from this picture-perfect nightmare. But then I thought about the secret I'd been keeping, the ace up my sleeve. And I smiled. A real, slow, dangerous smile. "Nah," I said, adjusting the pillow under my arm. "I'm exactly where I need to be." We wrapped the rehearsal with forced laughter and clumsy group photos. The sun dipped low behind the estate, casting long shadows over the garden. Perfect setting for a beautiful wedding. Or a spectacular disaster. And tomorrow, everyone would see which one it would be. The morning of the wedding broke clear and painfully bright. Sunlight streamed through the thin curtains of my hotel room, stabbing into my eyes like little golden knives. I lay there for a long moment, listening. Nothing but silence. The whole world seemed to be holding its breath. I swung my legs over the edge of the bed, feeling oddly calm. Too calm, honestly. Like the moment right before a roller coaster plunges down the first drop. Downstairs, the wedding machine was already in full motion. The staff buzzed like hornets, adjusting table settings, arranging the endless rows of white chairs, double-checking the flower arch that looked like it cost more than my car. The orchestral ensemble tuned their instruments, delicate notes floating on the breeze. Edenbrook's back lawn had been transformed overnight into a Pinterest board come to life, White roses, silk runners, champagne on ice. Guests trickled in, all pastels and polished smiles, their laughter a little too high-pitched. Nobody knew, nobody suspected a thing. I wandered through the crowd like a ghost, accepting claps on the back, offering tight smiles. People kept saying how great it was that I was supporting Liam, how strong I must be. If only they knew. At the makeshift groom's suite, a side room filled with whiskey, cigars and bravado, Liam was in his element, laughing too loudly, tossing playful jabs at his groomsmen. When he saw me, he clapped me on the shoulder. "Bro, couldn't have done this without you," he said, eyes bright, cheeks flushed with excitement, or nerves, hard to tell. I gave him my best reassuring grin, the one I'd practiced in the mirror. "Wouldn't miss it for the world," I said. Sophie was a different story. I caught a glimpse of her across the lawn as she posed for pre-ceremony photos with her bridesmaids. Her smile was brittle. Her hands twisted the lace of her dress when she thought no one was looking. Even from a distance, I could see the tension in her posture, the nervous flicker in her gaze. Good, I thought grimly. Let her sweat. The wedding coordinator, clipboard in one hand, headset crackling in the other, herded everyone into position like a general marshalling troops before battle. "Places, people. 5 minutes to ceremony start." I stood at the front, ring pillow ready, the whole scene unfurling before me in slow motion. Rows of pristine chairs, a sea of smiling, unsuspecting faces, the faint scent of roses carried on the wind. From somewhere behind the floral arch the music shifted, swelling into the opening chords of the processional. The murmuring crowd fell silent. This was it. I flexed my hands at my sides, feeling the blood hum in my veins. Not fear, not regret. Anticipation. I had been waiting for this moment for a long time. As the first bridesmaid stepped onto the aisle, I felt it in my bones. The end of one story, the beginning of another, and in just a little while, everything was going to change. The reception was already humming with laughter and the clink of champagne glasses by the time they called me up. I rose from my chair, adjusting my jacket slowly, savoring the moment. The polite applause rose around me, scattered, cheerful, oblivious. The perfect audience for the show about to begin. Liam beamed at me from the head table, one arm flung around Sophie, who laughed a little too brightly at something he'd just whispered. She caught my eye for a brief second. There it was. That flicker of worry. Good. I took the mic from the wedding coordinator, cleared my throat theatrically, and smiled wide. "Good evening, everyone," I began, my voice steady, almost light. "For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jake, Liam's brother, and, as of today, his extremely honored best man." More polite chuckles. I nodded along with them. I thought a lot about what I'd say today. After all, what could possibly sum up years of brotherhood? Years of shared experiences, adventures, trust. I let that last word hang for a beat longer than necessary. But I decided, let's keep it light, right? I said, flashing a grin. So here are a few things you should know about Liam. He's terrible at poker. He once tried to fix a leak under the sink and flooded Mom's kitchen. And he has the absolute worst judgment when it comes to dating. Laughter, louder this time. Even Liam laughed, tossing his head back. Sophie smiled stiffly. I held up a finger. But he's also loyal. At least that's what I used to think. A ripple of unease moved through the room. The smiles wavered. A few heads tilted slightly, sensing the shift. I kept my voice light, almost conversational, as I paced a little across the stage. You know, they say every love story has a beginning. Some start with a spark, some with a glance across a crowded room. I stopped, meeting Sophie's eyes dead on. And some, I continued softly, start with betrayal. The silence was immediate, almost deafening. I could feel the tension pull tight, the confusion growing. Sophie's fingers gripped the edge of the tablecloth. Liam blinked, the beginnings of a nervous laugh dying in his throat. I smiled. Sweet. Cold. Because sometimes, I said, my voice dropping lower, the people you trust the most, the ones you let into your home, your life, your heart, are the ones who hurt you the worst. The words dropped into the room like stones into still water. Shockwaves. There was a murmur among the guests. Whispers. Shuffling. Sophie was frozen, her smile glued awkwardly to her face, but her eyes, wide, panicked, told a different story. Liam leaned forward, confusion morphing into something uglier, sharper. I turned back to the crowd, slipping easily into a lighter tone again, as if I hadn't just detonated a grenade in the middle of the party. But hey, I said, raising my glass. Love is complicated, right? It's messy, unpredictable. Sometimes you find it in the most unexpected or inappropriate places. A thin, sharp gasp somewhere to my left. To Liam and Sophie, I said brightly, lifting my glass higher. May your love be stronger than your secrets. Silence. Then, scattered. Awkward applause. The kind that people give when they don't know what else to do. I set the mic down gently on the table, feeling the heat of 100 eyes burning into my back as I walked off the stage. Behind me, I heard Liam hissing urgently at Sophie. I didn't bother to listen. My work here was done. The fairy tale wedding had officially turned into a slow-motion car crash, and I, for once, wasn't the one left bleeding. Chaos bloomed like wildfire the second I stepped off the stage. I didn't have to turn around to know what was happening. I could hear it. Raised voices. Chairs scraping against the floor. Someone sobbing. Someone shouting. My mother's voice, sharp with panic, trying to shush it all down. My father's deeper tone, rumbling with anger. And in the center of it all, Liam and Sophie. Their perfect little world cracking open for everyone to see. I kept walking. Past the bewildered guests. Past the stunned groomsmen who couldn't meet my eye. Past the stunned look on the face of the wedding coordinator who was frantically trying to salvage the remains of the evening. Nobody stopped me. Nobody even tried. Out the front doors. Into the cool evening air. The weight on my chest, the one I hadn't even realized I was carrying, lifted with every step I took away from that mess. I didn't run. I didn't need to. The war was already over. The little bar a few blocks away was dimly lit and half empty. Just a few regulars hunched over their drinks, the occasional clink of glass breaking the silence. Perfect. I slid onto a stool at the far end of the counter, away from everyone, and signaled to the bartender, a guy about my age with tired eyes and an easy smile. "Rough night?" he asked, wiping down the bar in front of me. I laughed under my breath, an honest laugh, real and full for the first time in months. "You have no idea," I said, shaking my head. He chuckled and slid a cold beer across the bar without another word. I took a long, slow sip, savoring the bitterness. The quiet, the sudden, jarring peace of it all. Somewhere back at that wedding venue, they were probably still trying to pick up the pieces, yelling, crying, blaming, rewriting the story to make themselves the victims. Trying to understand how it had all gone so wrong. But that wasn't my problem anymore. For the first time in a long time, it wasn't my problem. I stared into the golden depths of my drink, letting the moment settle. Closure, I realized, wasn't about getting an apology. It wasn't about making them see what they'd done. It was about standing up, telling your truth, and walking away without looking back. It was about getting the last word, and finally meaning it. I tipped my glass slightly in a silent toast to myself. To endings. To new beginnings. To sweet, savage freedom. And with a smile tugging at the corner of my mouth, I took another drink, feeling the weight of the past finally, blessedly slip away.